Hello, hello, hello. Checking things out. Beattie here. We're doing an evening broadcast. Haven't had the studio lighting just set up at this hour. John Beattie, International Director of the British People's League. I think we'll add some lighting. What do you think? How are you today? We're fine, we're fine, we're fine. Just thought we'd better get something rolling here. What with the rioting in Ferguson, Missouri, USA, reminding us of the rioting in Croydon, United Kingdom, 3 years back. And a timely article is now circulating. Those loyal and patriotic white folk who are proud of their British heritage and their British roots. And you'll notice that we of the British People's League always use the word patriot. We're not interested in the word nationalist at all, not whatsoever. We're patriots. There's a big difference. Down the road, I'm sure you'll discover on your own as to why. So here we are, the evening of November 26th, evening in Ontario, Eastern Standard Time. It's about 5 after 9. But with the Ferguson, Missouri burning situation still in your minds, I thought it best, well, we'll do an evening show. So how are you anyway? British People's League, Dinosaur News. We're going to read out to you an article by an author, Kevin Myers, born in 1947, an accomplished Irishman. An Irish writer gets the pot going. It takes an Irishman to get things rolling. He's laying out Africa as it should be laid out. Laying out Africa. And we're circulating this right at the time of the Ferguson rioting. Oh, it's subdued now. But I was shocked that in Canada even there were demonstrations in favor of the attempted murder by the black African who tried to kill the white policeman. The white policeman popped him off first in self-defense. So this article on Africa, it's lively timing. We just started circulating this the other day. Somalia is not a humanitarian disaster. It is an evolutionary disaster. The current drought is not the worst in 50 years, as the BBC and all the aid organizations claim. It is nothing compared to the droughts in 1960-61 or 73-74. And there are continuing droughts every 5 years or so. It's just that now there are now 4 times the population, having been kept alive by famine relief, supplied by aid organizations over the past 50 years. So, of course, the effects of any drought now is a famine. They cannot even feed themselves in a normal rainfall year. Somalia, Africa, we're talking about. And what I'm talking about, think about the buildings being burnt down in Ferguson, Missouri. In Croydon 3 years ago, Croydon, the motherland. And all the other cities where the blacks are killing blacks. Think of their ancient roots, Africa. Worst yet, the effects of these droughts and poor nutrition in the first 3 years of the child's life have a lasting effect on the development of the infant brain, so that if they survive, they will never achieve a normal IQ. Consequently, they are selectively breeding a population that cannot be educated, let alone one that is not being educated, a recipe for disaster. We are seeing this impact now, and it can only exasperate to the detriment of their neighbors and their environment as well. This scenario can only end in an even worse disaster. Yeah, like Ferguson, like riots, like the downfall of Western civilization. Started in Africa, with even worse suffering for those benighted people and their descendants. Their descendants, blacks killing blacks. Eventually, some mechanism will intervene, be it war, disease, or starvation. So what do we do? Let them starve? What a dilemma for our Judeo-Christian Islamic ethos, as well as Hindu-Buddhist morality. And this is the beginning to happen in Kenya, Ethiopia, and other countries in Asia, like Pakistan. Is this the beginning of the end of civilization? Sure looks like it. Beattie slip in there. Africa is giving nothing to anyone outside of Africa apart from AIDS and Ebola and new diseases. Even as we see African states refusing to take action to restore something resembling civilization, in Zimbabwe, formerly Rhodesia, the begging bowl for Ethiopia is being passed around to us out of Africa. Yet again, it is nearly 25 years since the famous Feed the World campaign began in Ethiopia. And in that time, Ethiopia's population has grown from 33.5 million to 78 plus million today. So why on earth should I do anything to encourage further catastrophic demographic growth in that country? Where is the logic? There is none. To be sure, there are two things saying that logic doesn't count. One is my conscience. Now, this is Kevin Myers, the author of this article, published recently in an Irish paper. To be sure, there are two things saying the logic doesn't count. One is my conscience, and the other is the picture, yet again, of another wide-eyed child gazing, yet again, at the camera, which yet again captures the tragedy of children starving. Sorry, my conscience has toured this territory on foot and financially. Unlike most of you, I have been to Ethiopia. Like most of you, I have stumped up the loot to charities to stop starvation there. The wide-eyed boy child we saved 20 years or so ago is now a low IQ, AK-47 bearing moron, siring children whenever the wind takes him and blaming the world because he is the uneducated, poor, and left behind. Yeah, like the black in Ferguson trying to kill a white cop. There's no doubt a good argument why she would prolong, there's no doubt a good argument why we should prolong this predatory, dysfunctional economic, social, and sexual system. But I don't know what it is. There is no doubt a good argument why we should prolong this predatory and dysfunctional economic, social, and sexual system. But I do not know what it is. There is, on the other hand, every reason not to write a column like this. It will win no friends and will provoke the self-righteous wrath of, the self-righteous hand-wringing, letter-writing, wrathful individuals, a species which never fails to contaminate almost every debate in Irish life with its sneers and its moral superiority. And don't forget, folks, this is written by a true Irishman. It will also probably engage some of the finest men in Irish life, like John O'Shea of Gaul and the Finnegan brothers, men whom I admire enormously. So be it! Alas, that wretched country is not alone in its madness. Somalia, somewhere over the rainbow, lies Somalia, another fine land of violent AK-47 toting, gnat chewing, girl circumcising, permanently tumescent layabouts, and housing pirates of the ocean. Indeed, we now have an almost entire continent of sexually hyperactive, illiterate indigents with tens of millions of people who only survive because of help from the outside world or allowances by the semi-communist governments they voted for, money supplied by borrowing it from the World Bank. Might I add, the white World Bank? This dependence, that was Beattie saying that slip in there. This dependency has not stimulated political prudence or common sense. Pretty obvious, Beattie here. Indeed, I'll try not to slip in, folks, and let's get the article as is. Indeed, voodoo idiocy seems to be the ascendant with the President of South Africa being a firm believer in the efficiency of a little tap water on the post-coital penis as a sure preventative against AIDS infection. Needless to say, poverty, hunger, and societal meltdown have not prevented idiotic wars involving Tiger, Uganda, Congo, Sudan, Somalia, Eritrea, etc., etc. Broad brushstrokes, to be sure, but broad brushstrokes are often the way that history paints its gaudier, if more decisive chapters. Japan, China, Russia, Korea, Poland, Germany, Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia in the 20th century have endured worse broad brushstrokes than almost any part of Africa. They are now, one way or another, virtually all giving aid to or investing in Africa. Whereas Africa, with its vast savannas and its lush pastures, is giving almost nothing to anyone apart from AIDS and now Beattie slipping in Ebola. I didn't invent Ebola, by the way. I'm not keen on monkey meat. Meanwhile, Africa's peoples are outstripping their resources and causing catastrophic ecological degradation. By 2050, the population of Ethiopia will be 177 million. I just keep checking on the time, folks. It's hard to pin it down, the YouTube timing. By 2050, the population of Ethiopia will be 177 million, the equivalent of France, Germany, and Benin today, but located on the parched and increasingly protein-free wastelands of the Great Rift Valley. So how much sense does it make for us actively to increase the adult population of what is already a vastly overpopulated, environmentally devastated, and economically dependent country? How much morality is there in saving an Ethiopian child from starvation today for it to survive to a life of brutal circumcision, poverty, hunger, violence, and sexual abuse, resulting in another half dozen such wide-eyed children with comparably jolly little lives ahead of them? And I just have to interrupt the article again here, Beattie. Just imagine the meatheads picketing in favor of the would-be killer that got shot down in Fergus, Missouri. Meatheads in Ottawa, Toronto, Ontario, Washington, Los Angeles, the big cities, all sticking up for a would-be murderer instead of the white policeman who rightfully defended his life. And this is where it all comes from. We're going to import the Beattie raving here. We're going to import all of these starving bums to destroy our white Western civilization. Hunger, violence, and sexual abuse resulting in another half dozen more wide-eyed children with comparably jolly little lives ahead of them? Of course, it might make you feel better, which is a prime reason for so much charity. But that is not good enough. For self-serving generosity has been one of the curses of Africa. It has sustained political systems which otherwise would collapse. It prolonged the Eritrean-Ethiopian War by nearly a decade. It is inspiring Bill Gates' program to rid the continent of malaria, when in the almost complete absence of personal self-discipline, that disease is one of the most efficacious forms of population control now operating. If this program is successful, tens of millions of children who would otherwise have died in infancy will survive to adulthood, he boasts. Oh, good! Then what? I know. Let them all come here to Ireland or America, not forgetting Australia or Canada or the United Kingdom. Yeah, that's an idea. Ended a brilliant article by Kevin Myers. The timing is incredible. He's laid out the groundwork of Ethiopia, of Africa, Somalia. There's the roots. The stupidity of bringing over cheap labor, of bringing blacks over to North America in the first place, having to mix with the white settlers. White people should have done their own land work. We saw what's happened in Ferguson, Missouri. We saw what happened in Croydon, United Kingdom, just 3 years ago. We know what's going on in Rotherham, United Kingdom, the massive rapes of white girls, white little girl children. The police turned their back and allowed it to happen in the United Kingdom. I give credit to that prosecutor, Ferguson, the way he read out the no true bill, the facts of the matter. He stood there alone facing the cameras, as confident, as jolly confident as a good old American can and should. It really puts a lot of the British police and Canadian police to shame, the way that man read out the no true bill. There's no charges are laid against the innocent white police officer Wilson. So there's still some good American blood down there. And we like to promote the League of the South. I think it's dixienet.com. Anyway, check it out on Google, League of the South. As we said in the last program, 3 leagues here that I like to work with. League of the South in America, Candor League, candor.org.uk, candour.org.uk, our working partnership and pals in the motherland. And of course, the third link is we, the British People's League. We would appreciate some donations towards the internet costs of doing these YouTubes. And then this boy might not have to worry about his oil bill so much this winter. And the less time I have to worry about domestic crap, the more time and the more frequency of these videos. Of course, you'd rather give closer to home in America, white America, donate to the Confederacy, the League of the South. Donate at the homeland to Candor League. But we 3 leagues are working together. And I'm not recommending any other groups till they sort out their little odds and ends. But again, I want to stress one thing from this boy in the British People's League and our friends, our advisory council. We use the term patriot, not nationalist. You think about the difference. You look it up in the dictionary. The British People's League, we have a very intelligent group of advisors, and we advocate the advisors be, just as in the Second World War underground, legal for defensive purposes. Our advisors are there, and we're ready and willing to give our advice as our Western countries become under attack more and more from the Third World. We're here. The hits and visits have soared after the last YouTube this boy did on November the 5th. It's picking up. All these years of gathering advisors around me, around us, we of the British People's League. No memberships, friends. We're here for you. As Western civilization sinks, then the big boys in our camp, of our blood, of our stock, will start loosening the purse strings. And we of the British People's League will be a mainstay in the survival of our civilization, in the revitalization, with our flag, our red ensign here in Canada, Union Jack for Britons around the globe, with our true hearts, with our true souls, remembering those that have passed away, bringing us civilization, bringing us white civilization. We're on a roll. Nothing ain't stopping us. God bless Australia. I'll wear this hat as often as possible. Okay, that's it. Got to get the button clicked properly here. Thanks for tuning in. Talk at you next time. The sooner donations come in, the sooner the next show.